Good evening, everyone. We're at Roots 101. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Lamont Collins. I'm the founder and CEO of Roots 101 African American Museum. Thank you for coming today. If you don't know about Roots, we've been here 6 years. We've been nationally ranked. Matter of fact, in February, we're going to get the National Stella Award for one of the best black museums in the country. Right here. Yeah. But what I tell young people that we're descendants of kings and queens. So when they come out of here, they walk different, they talk different, and they are different because they understand the excellence they've been in. If you ever been to Roots, I do it one way, how I started off. I say Roots 101, and you say our house. Y'all know that? Roots 101. Roots 101. Roots 101. Welcome to our house, telling the story of the brilliance of black people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lamont. I'm thrilled that we are here in Roots 101. Thank you to Mr. Lamont and his team for their stellar partnership in this program. We also thank the Filson Historical Society, Dr. Patrick Lewis, Dr. Jackie Hudson, and Dr. Lynn Fold for their stellar partnership as well. We have so many people to thank, but first, thank you all for being here. I'm just overwhelmed to look out and see all of your faces, and I want to get out of your way as quickly as possible because we have a really exciting program ahead. But thank you to Metro United Way, the Filson, we thank the West Jefferson County Community Task Force, the Earth and Spirit Center, the School of Medicine's Office of Community Engagement, and the Louisville Clinical and Translational Research Center for participating as vendors in today's event. Thank you to the caterers, Black Coffee. Thank you to the bartenders in the Mix Bartending Service, and expressing deep gratitude to our host, the Envirom Institute, and acknowledging our founders, Dr. Ronnie Botnager, Dr. Ted Smith, and Mrs. Christy Brown. And then our team that's working behind the scenes on it. The heart of our AND Science team is Dr. Joy Hart and Eviana, but we also have lots of people working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. We have David over here on the sound that makes it possible that you can hear what we'll be sharing this evening. Mary Bentley, Laura, Neshula, Lori, Sean, Millie, Olivia, and Luke from the team that have helped make this possible. Thank you. And we have so many other people to thank, and we don't want to shortchange them. They are listed on the back of your printed program. If you don't have one, please check it out because so many people have poured into this event tonight. We are so excited to have this opportunity to discuss history and science this evening. So first of all, happy Black History Month. Hey. Woo! And because of our very own awardee this evening, Dr. Kevin W. Cosby, we're not just celebrating a month, we are in Black History Season, a term that he has coined and created and cultivated and is manifesting in our community. So we are celebrating for more than a month. We have an amazing panel that's going to explore the history of environmental exposures in health, including the history of environmental justice here in Louisville, Kentucky. This is of deep relevance because the environmental justice movement is birthed out of the civil rights movement. And our speakers are going to move us into conversations about today as well. And today we're in a time of devaluation of environment, and in some cases, erasure of history. So we're going to explore all of that this evening. We have an amazing panel of artists and medical archivists and researchers and authors, experts on policy and data that are going to grapple with the historic environmental inequities that we are facing today. But we also have a very special awardee. The AND Science Trailblazer Award will be presented to Dr. Kevin W. Cosby this evening. Yes, please. When I think of the history of Louisville, you are so deeply woven into the fabric of our community. And there are layers to this tapestry. On the surface, what we see is someone who has been the senior pastor of the largest African-American Baptist church in this African-American church in the state, St. Stephen Baptist Church, for 46 years. Absolutely. And what we see on the surface is someone who has been a college president of our nation's 107th HBCU, Simmons College of Kentucky, for 21 years. But it's also what's happened during these years. He transformed a church and the way churches church, not just here, but across our nation. He didn't even accept a salary at Simmons to ensure the success of this school that was on the brink of closure before he came to this school, rescued this school, and brought it up to the prominence that it is today, on the verge of becoming a university. Countless thousands of people have received a college education under his leadership, and even more have found deeper faith and transformed their faith under his guidance. But if you dig even deeper than that level, you'll find Dr. Kevin W. Cosby's heart for people and for improving community. If he sees a need, he doesn't just call it out. He builds systems to address it. He looks for where there is need and builds systems to address that. This is Blazing Trails, and he's been a true trailblazer, pioneering and creating pathways for others to follow. But even beyond his work life, if we dig even deeper, what you find are strong family connections. Husband to Dr. Barnetta Cosby, the father of Dr. Christine Cosby Gaither, and Kevin Christopher Cosby, and grandfather as well. We thank his family for sharing this trailblazer with us. So as we begin to celebrate our awardee, we welcome all of you to use the Menti platform to send congratulatory greetings for him. That information is here on the screen. You're welcome to scan this barcode, and we'll show what is received from you in this conversation. So please join in this celebration. In the meantime, I am happy to transition to Dr. Patrick Lewis of the Filson Historical Society for special presentations.
Well, I'm going to speak wearing a couple of different hats. First, we have, to honor Dr. Cosby tonight, a proclamation that Mayor Greenberg sent that recognizes Dr. Cosby for a lifetime of service marked by transformative impact across faith, education, history, and civic life, and for exemplifying the values celebrated by the And Science Forum and its commitment to transdisciplinary leadership with lasting influence. So on behalf of the city, now I'm going to talk as me. I want to express the sincere thanks of the Filson Historical Society to Natasha and all of our colleagues at the Envirom Institute. What an incredible partnership for years now, bringing perspectives of the past into actionable, research-driven action in the present. For too long, we have looked at the world around us and diagnosed the shortcomings, the failures, the degradation of systems that promised a broad-based quality of life. We've worked to understand the causes of that decline, but those of us in the academic world, in both the sciences and the humanities, have failed to connect perspective to action, to push beyond dysfunctional inherited structures to create something that serves the people and their needs right in front of us. This is what our honoree tonight, Dr. Cosby, has done in higher education. In a time of college closure, consolidation, and stagnation across this country, when the value of education and public debate is reduced to a profit and loss equation in the dehumanizing age of the algorithm, Simmons charts a different path. One in its organizational DNA laid down a century and a half ago by its founding generation, men like Reverend Elijah Mars, Dr. William J. Simmons, Charles Henry Parrish. Institution builders, driven by deep faithful convictions, who built national coalitions of support, who watched with pride as their student body grew and the footprint of their campus expanded. Each brick a testament to the good that comes when we meet, shape, and nurture the whole person in body and spirit. Let me speak my gratitude as a historian. In this flourishing era of Simmons, our eyes have seen the glory. we have been witness to what must have lived inside those founders, who rose from bondage to fight for the freedom of themselves and all people and devote themselves to sharing the gifts that had been denied them for too long. Thank you.
Good evening, folks. My name is Ricky Jones, Professor of Pan-African Studies at the University of Louisville. This is a proclamation from my friend and brother Morgan McGarvey, and I'm not going to read it. I got 2 minutes, so I'm going to talk about this. Look, it has never really been popular to talk about, work for, or love black people in this country. Even though folks sometimes pretend that they respect that love, they usually do not, in times like this, prove to us once again how they really feel. Right now, it's even harder to talk about, work for, and love black people, and Kevin Cosby has never, ever wavered. I'll take you back in history a little bit. People don't know that black people have always been serious about education. Always. We've cared more about education than we've cared about budgets. As my brother Patrick just said, we care more about education than we do some monetary equation that these greedy people who run universities today are wedded to. So going back to the 1830s, black people established educational institutions, way back deep in the heart of slavery. And after the Civil War, the Freedmen's Bureau came to some of those schools and said, look, let us give you some funding to help you along and send you some teachers to help you in your endeavors. And those founders of those black schools said to those dear white folk, thank you, but no thank you. If you want to give us a little bit of money to help us, cool, because you owe that to us anyway. But keep your teachers. We'll do it on our own. That's the ethic that Simmons College of Kentucky was founded under. That's the ethic that Kevin W. Cosby continues to live by and display every Sunday from his pulpit, because in black America, there is no separation between church and state. Our lives, our gods, our minds, our families, our people are all mixed up into one. And it's Black History Month right now. And Carter G. Woodson, the founder of Negro History Week, before he dies in 1950, he's asked around 1946 or 47, what should we do to celebrate Negro History Week this year? And Carter G. Woodson, who was a cantankerous brother who made enemies of almost everybody, including Du Bois, the NAACP, and any Uncle Tom Negro who was afraid to stand up to white power structures. Carter G. Woodson said, we shouldn't celebrate this year, because what this week really is us celebrating the achievements, the studies of black people every year leading to our liberation. And we haven't studied enough. No study, no celebration. One thing we can never accuse our dear brother, Dr. Kevin Cosby, of doing is not studying. We can't accuse him of not teaching. We can't accuse him of not being strong and standing up. We can't accuse him of making excuses for some of the devilish behavior we see today, because folk are making all kinds of excuses. So we love you, brother. That is really the bottom line. So to summarize this proclamation, it says, whereas, we should play the theme from Shaft. It says, whereas Kevin Cosby is a bad, shut your mouth, we give you this award. There's a video now to celebrate the achievements of our dear brother. Please enjoy it.
What I admire most about my father, Pastor Cosby, President Cosby, is that he truly has a heart for people.
And I think Kevin Cosby, one, is a genius, but he doesn't use that genius for selfish gain.
He's always working to empower, not to make black people dependent, but he is seeking to give black people the tools they need.
My father, as you all know and I know, has always been a busy man. That man has a million jobs And some would say that he's probably half Jamaican. No matter how busy he was, he made sure that people felt seen.
I don't think you can tell the story of Louisville and not include Kevin Cosby. If you try to tell the story of this city or this state without including him, then that story is going to be incomplete.
And he believes in institutional tools. That is, black communities thrive best when they have institutional tools. Church is an institution and not just a spiritual organism. Economic tools, entrepreneurship, businesses. Media, he knows the importance of media for black people, because when you control the narrative, you get to tell your own story.
So what I think our charge is to not leave men like Kevin Cosby out there by himself, to acknowledge that black people are under attack and do that without shame, do that without hesitation.
I hope he keeps telling the truth, because, you know, in our tradition, you'll know the truth and the truth will set you free.
So good evening, everyone. Now, why do y'all let Dr. Ricky Jones get up here and talk? What is that about? I knew you were coming next. It was a setup. But you know what? It was a great setup. So everything he said, I'm incorporating that into what I got to say, right? You know, I have some prepared notes here, and I don't think it'll really do justice when you're talking about someone like a Kevin Wayne Cosby, someone that we all know one way or another. Some people, I would think, Dr. Cosby would like to avoid you because when you come forward, you have something in mind. You have something you want done. You have something that you think is important. And you're not just saying, hey, I have an idea. You're saying, let's get this done. You're a doer. And I think that's very important. A lot of people talk, some people do. Talk's good, but doing is best. You do all the time, and I think you should be celebrated for that. The second thing is he's a visionary. You know, you can't really use that term loosely or lightly. I guess everyone has visions. But this man consistently works on those visions. He sees things we don't see. And we might say, what in the heck is he doing? What is he talking about? Where is he coming from? But then all of a sudden you see something concrete taking place. All of a sudden you think that, well, that can't possibly happen. And all of a sudden something substantive takes place. And all of a sudden you see, who says something about institutions? The video? You see something that people can come into, draw from, build upon, and use to project into the future. That's what vision is about when it becomes reality. And that's what he is, a visionary who creates reality. Give him a hand. But the thing I like most of all about Dr. Cosby is he's got a strong backbone. I haven't seen him back down from nothing. Even when I get in his face, he won't back down. I have to think twice when I do that. But one thing that happens when we get together, I learn something. Each and every time. I bet you do too. And I think that's telling in of itself. Because when you engage in meaningful work, when you're executing upon a vision, when you're creating reality, you're learning as you go. And when you share it, and he's constantly sharing it, I guarantee you, he's constantly sharing, then you grow too. You become part of that, being part of that activity. So I don't want to take any more time other than to say this. We are really lucky. We are lucky to have Dr. Kevin Wayne Cosby in our community. We're lucky to have him as a friend. We're lucky to have him as intentional as a human being can be in the work that he does, the creations that he creates. We're lucky. So I want to say to you, Dr. Cosby, and to everyone listening, thank you. Thank you for that. You not only deserve to be acknowledged for the work that you do, you know what else you need? You need everybody to get behind you and do those things to make it happen. We all must be doers. Now officially I came here to bring greetings, and of course they gave me little things to say. I'll mess that up. But the reality is we did prepare a certificate. I'm gonna do like Dr. Jones. I'm not gonna read this. You're gonna get one after the other, and all of them are good. It's good. And we like to say that these words will be on the books of the Commonwealth and spread across those books forever and a day, and they will be. But the fact of the matter is your work, your legacy is being realized now, and that is a gift to us all. God bless you. I'm going to present this to you, but I want to thank you, and I want to encourage everyone to relish in the work and the product and the things that are to come. God bless you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joshua Watkins. I serve as state representative for the 42nd House District. And before I begin, I'd like to give greetings and send regrets for our minority leader, Colonel Pam Stevenson, who could not be with us this evening. But I have the pleasure of serving as the House Minority Whip, and I'm here to present this citation of appreciation from the House of Representatives in the Commonwealth of Kentucky to Dr. Kevin Cosby. Like many speakers before me, I will call an audible myself and not read the entirety of this citation. But I would like to say a few remarks as a freshman legislator who just not too long ago was a regular person. And being in Frankfurt is a really interesting experience. And being connected to community and going to the Capitol is a really interesting experience. Now, Dr. Cosby, I have known you since at least 2009. My father is also a pastor, and I serve as a minister. And one of the things he would tell my siblings and I, he would say, "Son, be wary of a shepherd that does not smell like the sheep." And I find that so interesting and appropriate in today's world, where in a time where we could be helpful and meaningful, another thing my father would say is that you can be loud or wrong, but you shouldn't be both. And oftentimes, I hear people choosing both at the same time. But not you. Not you. We have had calls. We have worked hard. And I've got to see firsthand what many will never see. And that is behind all of the awards and the Sunday sermons, which you do so well, and even the boardroom at Simmons, when no one else is listening, you have a heart for the people that you serve. And that I do know, and I hope this citation echoes as well, inasmuch as the members of this distinguished body, and I'm not reading the whole thing, are deeply honored to join me in offering you sincere commendation and gratitude for your immeasurable contribution to this community, the state, and the nation, and extend you best wishes for the utmost future success and good fortune, and as you continue to labor diligently in the interest of the common good. And I'll leave you all with one last thing. There's a major difference between influence and power. Many of us believe and champion that we have influence. Very few of us, if any, truly know what power is. And we need to think about that as we move forward in a world that seeks to remind us that even though we've come so far, they don't want to see us go any further. Thank you, Dr. Cosby.
I'm a millennial. I got the picture right.
Good afternoon. Y'all want me to come behind all that? I don't think so. I really don't speak from, first I want to say I am so honored today to be able to present this proclamation to Dr. Kevin Cosby. I don't take that lightly. I also want to just share a short story about the relationship that Dr. Cosby and I have begun to have. Anybody that have gotten to know me know that I say what I got on my heart. I'm very passionate about people, but more than anything, I say the stuff that most people are scared to say. I've learned that Dr. Cosby also is one of those people that just says the stuff that people are just scared to say. The journey and experience that we had normally wouldn't come out like it did for myself and Dr. Cosby. I want to say that Simmons had petitioned to get $6 million from Metro Council, and I was a freshman, okay? And I said, no, we're not giving this church or this school $6 million. For what? And I had people looking at me like, you're gonna actually say that? And I said, yeah, I'm gonna be the one to say that. And I did. And after that, you know, Dr. Kevin Cosby said, I need to get this girl's attention so she can realize what she just did, right? I'm not bought. I don't have a steering wheel in my back. I literally just came in as a freshman, not a politician. I just came in fighting for the people. But I'm going to tell you about experiences. How experiences gives you the tools and it gives you the knowledge that you need to know to make great decisions. And for people not to hold that against you. And how sometimes people will look at you as an enemy, but your enemy one day can be your footstool. Okay? So, Dr. Cosby invited me to the Simmons opening of their dorm. I said, oh, what is this? I just turned down $6 million, you know, and he turned around and invited me to this. Oh, Lord, let me go with a bulletproof vest on, you know, got there. It was life-changing. I walked through those dorms. He didn't have to beat me up because I beat myself up. Every day, life is full of choices. And the choice that I made that day, I regret. But I want to say, he could have held that against me. And let me tell y'all, the next thing that he did, that same day, he said, did you graduate from school? I said, well, no, I didn't finish school. He said, you ought to try Simmons. I thought about it. I said, I ain't going to school where? Simmons, since the day I enrolled, has been the best thing for Tammy Hawkins. It has been a life-changing experience for me. And I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for giving me a second chance. You know, it's not often that people do that. You know, he gave me that chance. He gave me the opportunity that I almost lost. I don't think that I probably even would have went back to school. He seen something in me that I didn't even see in myself. He gave me back some fire. He gave me tools to know that even life after politics, what it may look like. There is no other person that I feel like, nothing in no script that nobody has said tonight can speak. The character, what's instilled inside Dr. Kevin Cosby. I am honored today to present this Science and Trailblaze Award to you, and I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for being the leader. You're doing exactly what leaders are supposed to do. And not everybody can lead me. I'm not easily led, and I don't easily follow. But I want to say thank you, because one day I'm going to have to do that same thing that you did. And I'm still working on me every day. But having a leader like you, it gives me hope that I can stand exactly where you're standing at. You know, doing the same things and giving those same tools to someone else. I am so happy and proud to follow behind someone like Dr. Kevin Cosby. Let's stand up and let's give this man an applause.
Well, good evening. I am Arani Bhatnagar. I'm the director of the Christina Lee Brown Environment Institute at the University of Louisville, and it's my distinct pleasure and honor to welcome you all here this evening. One of the things that the Institute does is to be able to work and live with the community, to be able to understand the issues that concern the community and how we could be not just sort of an academic institution, but also a partner to the people and the city that we live in. And so we're trying to develop and discover a new way of doing science, a new way of learning things in which we could have things that we can do in the real world. So we've been faulted as a community and academics of being too much in the ivory tower. But we are making a deliberate attempt to be in the world with everybody else. And so in that sense, I think that this is one of the series of programs that we have been developing to be able to at least develop a dialogue and to know and to understand what our community is. And I'm really grateful to Natasha for doing this series of and science programs, which started last year, and we have done 3 or 4 of these. But today is extra special. I think what we are here today, and we heard from everybody else about Dr. Cosby, and there is nothing I can say that would actually add to that. But you, sir, are a leader among leaders, and you have been a sort of guiding light to the entire community. I've been here 25 years in this city, and I've heard so much about you, and I have had the opportunity to learn from you. And the things that I admire the most about you is your value for education and learning, and to be able to be a guiding light among people, and not only just sort of the black community, but the city as a whole and the country as a whole. And we are very proud that you are with us and amongst us, and we couldn't be more luckier and more privileged to have you working and living here in Louisville with us. And so, as a small token of what our appreciation, we want to honor you tonight and with the Anne Science Award. And as the end of the day, sorry, Natasha.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I am speechless. I'm just speechless. I've been thinking a lot about my father. My mother died when I was 10 years old. She was a victim of environmental racism. And my father was a sharecropper from Athens, Alabama, who was the first person on either side of his family to graduate from high school, graduate from college, and devoted himself and instilled in all of my siblings the importance of giving back to the Black community. And I'm just so grateful for this. This is means the world to me. I'm a West Louisville kid, and I live in West Louisville on the last house on Broadway, which means you can't get any further west than where I live. And I guess I live there as far west because of how much West Louisville has meant to me. My family was part of that wave of families like the Jeffersons that left West Louisville and moved out into the suburbs. We moved into a subdivision called Barbermead. And we were the first Black family in Barbermead, which means I was the first Black teenager in Barbermead in the early 70s. It was not a good experience. I was made to feel as though I was ignorant. I would dance and try to entertain the whites who were around me just to be accepted. The only reason I'm standing here is because I could always go back to West Louisville and find an institution there, namely the church, in which there were people in the church who gave me another consciousness about who I was. And while I was being told at the schools, all you can do is play basketball, when I went to this Black institution, they hugged me, they affirmed me, they told me who I was, and I believed them. I really believed them. So when I felt my call, I said my call is to try to give to kids what I received, a Black institution, a school, strong churches, where they could come and somebody could celebrate them. West Louisville has often been a place to leave. And the reason why it's a place to leave is because it has never been a place to love. I believe with all of my heart, and I dedicate my life to making West Louisville a place to love. And we make it a place to love when we make it a place to lift through establishing black institutions that are characterized by 3 C words. Institutions that are characterized by black C concerns. Black institutions should be concerned about black people. Black culture. Black people like Roots 101 should be a place where black people can celebrate their culture. And the final C word is black control. Where black people just don't have influence, but we have power. And that's what I dedicate my life to. And the greatest thing you can do if you love black people is to help strengthen the institutions that black people control that are impacting and affecting the lives of so many black people. I cannot thank you how much this means to me. Thank you so much.
Good evening. So I don't know how we're supposed to follow that, and we got 15 minutes left to talk about some very critical topics that's happening around the world. Doc, you got to put on another program because these powerful people up on stage, we need to have our voices heard. We have been drowned out tonight by excellence and greatness, right? So I'm going to start by giving you a brief bio. Each of the panelists have about 90 seconds to give their bio. I should say each, but I should just say 90 period. But I'm going to cut some slack after where we at in the program. So anyway, I'm Dr. Smarty J. I'm the CEO of Park Duval Community Health Centers. I have a local TV show called CEO Live Talks with Dr. Jet. Please tune in, Wave 3. Saturdays at noon, I'm going to make sure I put all of these on there too, and Dr. Cosby on there, Dr. Jones on there. Anyway, start with him.
My name is this song?
No. You can stand up and use mine.
Oh.
We'll waste no time.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. My name is Hannah Drake. Hi, y'all. I'm a poet, an author. I'm the co-founder of the Unknown Project that finds the names and tells the stories of enslaved black people. You can...
Is mine on? All right. Hi, I'm Dr. Monica Unseld. I am a biologist by training, but I have a degree in a master's in public health as well. I've worked in the environmental justice movement for 17 years with communities locally, nationally, and internationally. I have started my nonprofit is called Until Justice Data Partners in response to the Breonna Taylor murder and people asking for data and research. And if you need someone to fault the academy, I'm right here. I would happily do that. Thank you.
My name is John Chenault, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Louisville Medical School. I have a bio that we don't have enough time to discuss because I also am a writer, musician, composer, librettist, playwright. I'll say this, though. I was born in Jim Crow, experienced the civil rights movement, black power movement, black arts movement, came of age in the new Jim Crow, and I'm still here.
Pole, and I'm a medical historian and also an archivist at the Filson Historical Society. I'll keep it short, but I did want to make the point that we help people all the time research their families, their neighborhoods, their communities, and all kinds of history topics. So come down and research your family and your life and your history topics that are important to you.
I'm former State Representative Attica Scott, and I love to get on the nerves of politicians. And I want to acknowledge that Councilwoman Shamika Parrish Wright is here. And it is an honor to be on this panel, especially as a proud member of Rubbertown Emergency Action Network for decades. Yes. And we'll have a chance to talk some more about the work that REACT does.
Yes. So, Mike, go on. Lord have mercy. You know, I can stand up and do this. So, here's the thing. I'm gonna ask everybody one question, and here's the premise. So, first of all, I want to talk about, look at Roots 101 and the historical context. And I read a lot. Unfortunately, I have 5 degrees. That's how much I read. But one of the things, history has been stolen over time, right? And right now, history and science, they should be intersecting, but they're being wiped out the books. Almost like Alexander the Great rose up again and just went to Africa, right? And voices are being silenced. And one of the things I grew up in the south side of Chicago was, hey, my voice is being silenced, especially when I came in the South. Then I heard this young lady, and her quote was, when excellence walks into the room, mediocrity gets scared. Talk to me about that, Hannah. Where did you come up with that? Because you have a voice. Oh, you ain't know I was talking about you, huh?
I did.
I know you know that quote.
No, that's the truth. When excellence steps into the room, mediocrity gets paranoid, right? And Black people often shine a spotlight on mediocrity simply by being.
Right.
And it's everything discussed earlier, everything Dr. Jones spoke about, Dr. Cosby spoke about, is Black people have been raised with a level of excellence. We have all heard you gotta be twice as good, so we all know that. So there's a level of excellence when Black people just enter space. And when people see that, then it becomes paranoia. It's because we have put a spotlight on mediocrity. If you look at the world now, and everybody in this administration, I sit back and think, wow, the spotlight is on mediocrity. Because y'all said that was your best. And if that is your best, you are in big trouble. You see what I'm saying? And so anybody that steps up, that's why, say what you want about President Barack Obama, but he stepped up and was excellent. High level of excellence. His wife, the most educated. First lady, not one of the most educated first lady ever. And it put a spotlight on the mediocrity that we see. And so people run around paranoid. I can't help it. If I walked into a room with a Dr. Cosby and Dr. Jones and Attica Scott, and I get your paranoia. I see why it upsets you. See, but when I walk in, Hannah Drake, because I know I'm excellent, Monica doesn't make me paranoid. It's just 2 Black women being excellent. You see what I'm saying? That's it.
With that being said, because I realize I walk into a room now with my hair grown long, people are threatened just based off the look, right? We ain't even talking about the intellect. So, Dr. Unso, you have a website up, and you can plug in data, and you can plug in the zip code, and you find out about all the contaminants and toxins in the community. Talk about that and the reason you built the website to educate the community.
Yes, well, the website is called fencelinedata.org. It's a collaborative website because we believe that data should be free and accessible. So I don't care if you are in a peer-reviewed journal or the Courier Journal, paywalls kill. You should not be locking up potentially life-saving information behind a paywall. So what we did is we went and got data from other places, and we're working to conserve those federal websites that went down, and we're putting them all in one place. And soon we're going to have a community co-developer program, because they're going to tell us what needs to happen next. Because what we need to know is that those federal websites are going down for two reasons. One, they don't want us to know what they're doing. Two, because Black and brown and indigenous people are disproportionately impacted by environmental racism and climate change. So when we make progress in those areas, we disproportionately benefit Black, brown, and indigenous people, and they don't want that. They're doing it so much that Kentucky and Louisiana said, we're going to put limits on community air monitoring. Louisiana is given a $1 billion fine for communities who want to do community air monitoring. Here in Kentucky, they're like, you can do it, but we won't use it. So what we did is we went and got some server space over in Iceland. And we moved to a European-based platform called Nextcloud. So we said, here, we'll take your data and it will chill over in Iceland until you're ready to use it or until the political climate gets better. Yeah, and our approach in that is that we would never go to a community with, say, let me fit you into my research program. Or here's an intervention, you're welcome. We say, let's get to know you, let's go for coffee, let me hear about your grandpa, right? And then we say, what do you need? And that's how we got Fence Line. And that's how we do all of our work, because people know what they need. They know they're being poisoned. They know everything. But we said, well, you want this? We'll go get the data sets and put it in one website for you. That's what we do.
So my environmental engineering background has allowed me to work with West Louisville Air Toxic Study and West Jefferson County Task Force. And we did receive some money from EPA to do air monitoring, and it got pulled. So my background is epidemiology, and I really studied the root cause of disease in the community. But Dr. John Chenoweth over there, this man has a medical background, Chenant, yeah, I pronounced it wrong, has a French cell, yeah, but yeah, very common. But you have talked about most of your career about the health disparities and how it impacts communities, which goes back to the environmental being able to lock in by zip code, which I like the aspect of census tract. So talk about the intersect between medicine and science and the impact on the body.
Okay, let me read from my prepared script because I come to do business, all right? And the question I was asked, medicine has experienced transformative advancements over the course of history: vaccines, antibiotics, anesthesia, public health advancements to sanitation, water and air quality, drastically improved quality of life. Between 1900 and 2000, we experienced about a 40-year gain in life expectancy. Yet, despite the gains in medicine and public health, health disparities remain. And the question I was asked, can you share about the history of Black bodies and medicine in the U.S. and connections to current health inequities? Here we go. Despite the modernization of medicine in the early 1900s, African American life expectancy has consistently remained below that of whites. Currently, it averages between 3 to 5 years lower, a gap that narrowed in recent years due in part to declines in white life expectancy, which constitutes the baseline. Nevertheless, wide regional variances exist in the data, which shows gaps as high as 20 years in some U.S. cities. In Louisville, 17 years as you move east. Right? Between 1900 and 2000, roughly 10 million African Americans also died excess and premature deaths from all causes, heart disease, cancers, etc., that equal access to health care, nutritious foods, healthy environments, etc., could have prevented. Right? Currently, these deaths number over 200 a day, roughly 76,000 a year. To place this in context, 80% of our health problems are socially determined, meaning they are caused by non-clinical factors. 40% is socioeconomic, meaning income, education. 30% is behavioral, diet and exercise, drug use, sexual activity. 10% is environmental, air and water quality, housing, transportation. that number should be increased. The racism that structures and permeates U.S. society drives African American health disparities, as is evidenced by the history of medical education and infant and maternal health care. Dr. Ricky Jones, between 1868 and the early 1900s, African Americans established 19 medical schools to train black physicians who were mainly excluded from white institutions. In 1895, out of a population of 7.5 million African Americans, there were only 385 black doctors. Only 7% of those graduated from white medical schools. All right? By 1905, a decade later, there were 1,465 African American doctors. Only 15% of those graduated from white schools. In 1910, however, the AMA commissioned a study of the nation's medical schools by a Louisvillian named Abraham Flexner. That report mandated the closure of all but 2 African American schools, Howard and Meharry. Only 4 exist today: Howard, Meharry, Morehouse, and Charles R. Drew. The closure of historically black medical schools resulted in an estimated loss of 25,000 to 30,000 physicians. Do you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Black physicians today number 84,000. They comprise only 5% of the physician workforce, even though African Americans comprise 14% of the population. Now, I'm going to try to wrap this up very quickly. Women and children's health are key barometers of a society's health and wellness. Demographers estimate that in the slavery era, black and white infants died at similar rates. Healthcare was poor across the board, right? Enslaved infants in 1850 died before 1 year of age at a rate 1.6 times, roughly, higher than that of white infants. While the white infant mortality rate declined significantly in the 20th century, the African American rate increased to the point that is now nearly double that what it was in 1850. All right? CDC data from 2022 indicates that black infant mortality today is 2.3 times higher than that of white infants. Moreover, and this is the catch, and I presented this data 35 years ago before the National Conference of Social Workers. Income and education do not mitigate socioeconomic status, meaning, do not mitigate the effects of systemic racism. Let me repeat that so you understand what I'm saying here. Income and education do not mitigate the effects of systemic racism, right? African American women with the highest socioeconomic status, meaning graduate level educations, high incomes, and access to health insurance and health care, have higher infant mortality rates than white women at the lowest socioeconomic level in this country. That's white women who live below the poverty line, lack a high school diploma, and have no access to health care. Ask Serena Williams about what a millionaire's health care is like if you're an African American woman, right? Finally, this is not a statistical anomaly. Epigenetics also may explain how this trauma can be transferred intergenerationally from mother to newborns. That may be a factor, but obstetrical care, or the lack thereof, is also implicated. Research shows, and this is a study that was done, I believe, in 2022. Research shows black newborns are more likely to survive childbirth when cared for by black doctors. Black doctors, but 3 times more likely to die when the doctor is white. The newborn death rate shrunk by between 39 and 58% when black doctors took charge of the birth. This is based on the study of 2 million births. By contrast, the mortality rate for white babies was unaffected by the doctor's race. Black doctors don't maltreat anybody, patient, adult, or child. What this shows, and this is my final sentence here, this research illustrates how systemic racism in healthcare impacts the first minutes of a person's life. the first seconds of a person's life.
So, Dr. Poe, you recently wrote a book on Waverly Hills, and you really discussed disease, right, and the impact and the history. Talk a little bit about your book.
Sure. Yeah, my answer is going to be very local. Everyone hear me? Okay. Yeah. So, at the beginning of the 20th century, tuberculosis ranked as the #1 cause of death in Louisville, responsible for 1 out of every 7 deaths in the city. White city officials and health leaders were well aware that the highest tuberculosis rates were in parts of town with the most dense and poorest housing. But they took very limited steps to actually address that critical problem. In 1910, a tenement housing law had been passed requiring landlords to make sure their buildings met sanitary standards. However, years later, a 1924 health survey showed that tenement buildings had little ventilation, no indoor plumbing, no source of clean water. In 1948, the Louisville Urban League did a survey showing the same conditions. For example, landlords who instead of providing indoor bathrooms provided a pit-type toilet in yards serving over 30 tenants. The Louisville Urban League questioned why was the city not enforcing a housing law it had passed nearly 40 years earlier. In addition, Black residents, including World War II veterans, faced a long list of exclusionary practices that severely limited where they could buy or rent. A second big struggle was with health care. The city and the county created public infrastructure to diagnose tuberculosis and then treat patients at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, which opened in 1910. Black residents constantly wrestled with racial disparities within this system. And I'll just cite a few examples. One, in the early 1920s, white city officials wanted to build a new sanatorium at Waverly Hills, and they heavily courted the support of Black voters, promising them a department staffed by Black physicians and Black nurses. At this time, in the early 1920s, no public Kentucky hospital either trained or employed Black medical professionals. In 1926, that 500-bed sanatorium opened, but to white patients only. And Black patients were relegated to an older wooden 2-story hospital building. Waverly Hills hired 1 Black physician, Dr. Orville Ballard, and 1 Black graduate nurse, Esther Behrens. Black leaders pushed for more medical staff, and they set up a program at Waverly Hills to train students from Meharry Medical School in Nashville. And the aim was to recruit more Black physicians to Louisville. In 1953, Dr. Orville Ballard and Dr. Grace James, who was one of those Meharry students who trained at Waverly Hills, became the first Black physicians appointed to the faculty at University of Louisville Medical School. So these are just a few of the examples that the ways local people push for and pried open public services for patients and positions for medical professionals.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to open it up for Q&A. So, Representative Scott, you have done a lot with REACT, and I want you to talk about environmental injustice and Rubbertown and health outcomes, because there's a lot of injustice in that.
Absolutely. So, and I know Dr. Unseld can talk so much more about this than I can, but I will say this: when we talk about environmental justice, especially here in Louisville, we can't separate history from science. In Rubbertown, you see the connection immediately. The data shows higher asthma rates, cancer risks, and chronic respiratory illnesses in nearby neighborhoods. I know my great uncle, who I lived with, he and my great aunt for years, died with 4 forms of cancer in his body, and he lived about a block and a half from the first plant. So history explains why these neighborhoods ended up there in the first place. We know that when Louisville started building housing for Black folks at the edge of the 9th Street divide, it was in the midst of environmental degradation. So there's segregation, there's redlining, and there's decades of disinvestment. Black families weren't just living near chemical plants by coincidence, like we see along the Rubbertown corridor. Policy put them there, and that's why I'm a policy advocate. Policy kept investing in industry while ignoring the health of the people breathing the pollutants. And my work has always been about connecting those dots. In the legislature, I pushed for better notification when there's a chemical release, more community access to environmental data, requiring decision makers to consider cumulative impacts, not just one facility at a time, and expanding renewable energy and energy efficiency programs so low-income families aren't left behind in the climate crisis. So none of it was easy, and of course not all of it happened, but it was important to push for it and to not leave my community behind. So community members have demanded clean air and clean water all across Kentucky, and including right here in Louisville and in Rubbertown. And so one of the goals that I hope comes out of tonight's conversation is encouraging your participation, whether it's to become an active member of REACT, or of course support Dr. Unseld and the work that she's doing with data curation, collection, and accessibility. Environmental justice has always been led by those of us who were most impacted, because we know that we can pay attention to our bodies and know when something's wrong, that we care about our children's health, and we care about our neighborhoods. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here at Roots 101 having this conversation, and I know this conversation has to continue outside of these spaces, and sometimes that means confronting and challenging your favorite politicians if they're not standing up for our communities as it relates to environmental degradation.
Absolutely amazing. What a brilliant panel. So grateful to be here. And you're probably wondering, what is she doing here? So I'm stepping in for Dr. Jett here to lead us into Q&A. So if you have questions for our panelists, we would love to have your questions to continue this dialogue. Hopefully you received note cards as you came in. You are welcome to use note cards and pass them over. We also have microphones. There. We also have microphones, so you are welcome to come to the mic. We just ask that you please say who your question is directed at among the panelists. And we may have a virtual way for you to send questions. Yes, we'll have a virtual way for you to send questions as well through the Menti tool. If you already logged into Menti to deliver greetings for Dr. Cosby, same link, and you'll be able to enter question and answer there. I already see that there's already one. Thank you. So, are there questions in the audience? Eviana will bring the mic to you, or if you have note cards, you're welcome to wave a note card to get our attention. I'll go ahead with the question that we have here in the chat. So, what adverse health condition is most significant for our community in Louisville, and what's the path to mitigate it?
Am I on? All right, thank you. That's a very difficult one to answer because cancer gets the attention. What doesn't get the attention is diabetes, behavioral issues. Now, before I say behavioral issues, some people will say like, oh, it's the black little boys are energetic. But for black culture, they're absolutely fine. If you take a little black boy and stick it in a white classroom and tell him to sit still for 8 hours, then maybe that's a problem, but maybe that's the problem and not him being black. So, but we do see like learning differences, asthma. So we have to be careful of saying what's the biggest one. And also, this city likes to act like air pollution only impacts your lungs. It negatively impacts every single organ in your body. So when you go to your doctor, you should be checking on that as well. So it's difficult to say what it is. I know we have some chemicals coming out of Rubbertown that are changing children's brain as they developed, which is one of the reasons I don't like when JCPS says the data shows black kids aren't learning. Well, you should be screaming about that facility in Rubbertown that is changing their brains. And then another thing that causes lead. We never banned lead in this country, so now it's in toys. It's in plastics, it's in your shower curtain. So we're seeing those impacts, and with cumulative impacts, it's not just multiple facilities, it's non-chemical stressors like racism and classism that already knock back your immune system that mean you can't fight what's coming out of chemours. So that's a difficult question because there's so many things. It's just take care of yourself and support REACT. I have a team of 8 people around the nation paid just to back up REACT. So just ask your doctor about everything. Question everything. Don't be scared, but be mad at the people you should be mad at.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Dr.
I
Chanel.
would like to follow up on the comment about lead exposure. General Motors introduced lead ethylene to gasoline in the 1920s, knowing full well its harms. The men who manufactured it died, many of them. It was so bad they hallucinated during the manufacturing of it. There was a whole known history of that as well. Lead was not removed from gasoline technically until 1996. In the interim, we had the interstate highway system, which in many cases ran right through the heart of black communities. Even land was taken from black communities to build these highways. If you're born in a certain period of time, it's believed your IQ has declined as a result of all of that lead. Keep in mind, lead's a heavy metal. It doesn't go anywhere. It also reduces our ability to control our impulses. So there's a correlation between lead and crime, right? So this has been going on for a century now. They've been polluting the environment with lead, which is not going anywhere. The other part of this that we need to connect the dots to is how air pollution impacts cognition. We're now getting research studies that show a correlation between air pollution and the onset of dementias of various kinds. We're already in a cycle where dementia is going to be an epidemic in this country by 2060. And that is deadly for the African American community because we're being driven into that situation, not just by air pollution and pesticides and all these other things that are polluting our environment, but the stresses of racism.
I felt a collective breath on that last statement.
When you mentioned what is the largest or the most adverse, I thought ignorance. Ignorance. We live in a country where it seems ignorance is rewarded, you know, and now practically everyone has a phone. You're walking around with a computer in your hand. Ignorance is a choice at this point. And all of these things anybody could talk about. All you need to do is look it up, go read, go learn, go research. You can draw a line back from everything that was mentioned, everything. You can draw a line right back to the history of enslavement in America. And America just wants to leapfrog over that part. Everything has an origin story. Rubbertown didn't just, oh, look, and we looked up and here was Rubbertown. You know, oh, we looked up and black maternal death rate. You know, oh, we just looked up and the air's bad. What happened? It has an origin story. And most of it is rooted in injustice. So if you scratch any policy, anything that's wrong, you're going to find injustice. And oftentimes you're going to find injustice against black people first. And then it's everybody else. Yeah.
I will add in just that the scientific community and the academy, I have an ongoing war with the academy. I was a black woman in the academy and I left. Is because we talk in a complicated way.
Yeah.
I can decode the back of a lotion bottle and say that's a petroleum product, that's a carcinogen. Most people can't. Most people don't know that the term fragrance means there's hundreds or thousands of chemicals that they don't have to disclose. You know, perfume, fragrance, all of these things. There's all of these marketing tricks to not have to tell. You know, I have to tell people that baby oil, that's scraped from the sides of the barrels of petroleum that they dig out. Yeah. But I'm going to say daddy. I heard that. I heard that. Well, he's going to get sick. Don't worry. but we, you know, the academy and people in power, we intentionally make it difficult for people to understand what's happening to them, and that's our fault.
For anybody but for Dr. Shanat, how have you remained so strong throughout history and your experiences? I grew up in South Central also and experienced things with my friends and stuff like that where cops wouldn't show up because we're on the other side of the railroad. Even though one of my friends was injured and broken arm, it took him 2 hours to respond. And his mom was able to get off work and get to South Central before. How do you remain so strong and throughout history and throughout your experiences?
Well, I will say that I spend most of my time upgrading my ignorance. I recognize what I don't know. And I recognize I'll never know everything. But I'm spending my time upgrading my ignorance. And it's worked for me. It's worked to the point where I can sit here before you now and tell you I have a 9th grade education. I never finished high school. I don't have a high school diploma or a GED, and I have 4 college degrees. All right? I was able to trick my way into undergraduate school, right? And it's about perseverance, it's about taking the skills that you have. So I was a writer and I was a musician, and I used that to leverage my way to get into undergraduate school. And from there I was gone. I did what I needed to do and went on. So what I find as a source of strength is an insatiable curiosity. It keeps me going. It tells me that there's still things to be discovered, that I can still find ways to solve problems that seem insurmountable, that there's an endless reservoir that we just simply have to tap into. Our own history, and in my case, I rely heavily on my ancestors. And I've spent an inordinate amount of my time researching to discover who they are, the white ones and the black ones. And so with that as my guiding point, I'll just simply say, I was speaking earlier about this. My earliest identifiable ancestor, enslaved ancestor that I know by name, was born in Madison County, Kentucky in 1790. Her name was Miranda. She was owned by one of the wealthiest slave owners in the state of Kentucky. He did not free her. She stayed in bondage until she was 75 years of age. She lived an additional 15 years. But here's my compass. From her come 2 physicians, a college professor, formerly an associate dean of a college years ago, also school teachers, computer programmers, et cetera, military veterans from the Civil War and World War II as well. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but the strength comes from your roots. And the fact is, I did talk about the challenges of infant mortality, et cetera. At the same time we have these challenges, our female ancestors, in dealing with all that trauma and stress, still generated resilience, still reproduced resilience in the womb. And that's why we're here.
I didn't hear much. In fact, I heard nothing after you said you didn't have a high school diploma, Shanat. The man has degrees from my department, so I'm wondering how to... Two degrees from my department. We got to revisit that. But quickly, question for any of you, and maybe you can help me with where my mind is at. And I've talked to you about this Kevin. Talk to you too, Hannah, as I kind of devolve into nihilism about racial stratification and our interaction with white Americans. Do you think there is a future for us? And I feel that we are running out of time as things get worse. And you brought up the idea of ignorance. I used to think that racism among white people was about ignorance, that they did not know. And it seems to me now, as I get a little bit older, angrier, and hopeless, that it's not that they do not know. Outside of a few exceptions, it seems that they do not care. So do we have a future in continuing to try to teach them and negotiate with them when they
show us at every turn that they do not care, or do we need to redirect our energies inward and organize, strategize, and try to move forward from that perspective?
I don't have the patience for it. I'm trying to keep people alive. So when you're ready to join me, you'll be welcome. Just get in the back and listen, follow orders. But that's not my ministry. I don't have the patience or the tact for that anymore.
I'll simply say what Martin Luther King told Harry Belafonte in Confidence. He said, "Harry, I am deeply afraid that we're integrating into a house on fire." Right? I'm deeply afraid that if we think that we can integrate into this society, this culture, that we are committing suicide. We're completing a mental suicide as well. We need to stop thinking about that and think about what we can do to improve the quality of our lives, to improve our educational system. If we have to teach ourselves at home, and I would suggest this, the reason why I could do that is because my mother and father sat me down before I even went to school and taught me how to read and write. We have to reinstill that educational attitude, philosophy, agenda in our household, and we have to reinstill eldership. I am so sick of looking at our elder men in particular who are immature, who dress immaturely, who behave immaturely. We need to restore eldership. In African cultures, there are age sets. We used to have teenagers and children and adults. We don't have that anymore. We need to restore that. We need to have children respect their elders, but elders need to be respected. And that's missing to a great extent in our culture. We also need to be very, very clear about how our music and culture has been cannibalized, even by our own folk, and distorted and made into a consumer commodity that sells degradation every single day. I'm a drummer. Our rhythms are magic, but we have turned them into evil. The beats that you hear come from thousands of years ago in some cases, hundreds of years ago. And now we put these nasty lyrics with them and all this nonsense with them. Even twerking has a meaning in Africa far different than what's going on here. It's a fertility ritual dance, right? But we've turned it into a strip club kind of performance, as we've turned much of our music into just street garbage. So we need to reclaim our cultural institutions, and we need to reclaim our standards of beauty. You can't be beautiful imitating somebody else.
So we've got 3 questions we're going to try to squeeze in. First question, and I believe this is directed to anyone in the panel. Where can we learn more about the 17-year life expectancy difference in Louisville? So that's the difference between your life expectancy in West
Your
Louisville
life
compared to East.
expectancy and your zip code and skin color correlate. All right? It varies across the country, but there's quite a lot of evidence about the variations in life expectancy. One of the worst is Chicago. On the west side of Chicago, people live 20 years on average longer than people on the south side. 5 miles distance, right? You have neighborhoods in New York, like in Harlem, where there was a time when people in Bangladesh had a longer life expectancy than a man in Bangladesh would live longer than a black man in Harlem. So it varies, but there's abundant resources for finding that information.
I was going to say the Louisville Public Health Department has their the Endo report where they were one of the first in the nation to actually talk about race and the health disparities between East and West. So if you go to their website, you can see the reports. Oh, fencelinedata.org.
We have another question from the audience. So this question is for anyone on the panel. I was kind of wondering how the body of pseudoscience that like started during slavery and continued, I think, to like the early 1900s, how that plays into the discrimination we see in like medical practices and even into environmental injustice, like the body of pseudoscience that white people use to justify that we were inferior beings.
It didn't stop in the 20th century. I can find research today that's still that. It's the assumption that being black is something to be fixed. You know, being black is a difference. It's not a deficit. We've got a lot of medical research out there that's wrong, not only with race, but with sex and gender. They're wondering why things are different in women. It was like, oh, well, you forgot, women have more estrogen. Maybe that's why we see a difference. So it's never fully ended. The problem is we have thousands and thousands and thousands of bodies of research that are wrong, but they're still being used for interventions and policies. So they never stop saying that being black is something to be fixed. I've heard people say last year, you know, the air was polluted, but the number one factor was them being black. And I was like, whoa, no. There's nothing wrong with being black. The problem, it's not race, it's racism. Yeah. Right? So there's nothing wrong with my skin color, it's how they react to it. So it never ended, unfortunately. So are you going into the academy?
I graduated a couple years ago.
Congratulations.
But not in medical sciences or anything.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't recognize you. Let me say, yeah, he's better educated than I am. Let me say this very clearly so you understand. Doctors invented race and scientific racism. Yeah. Doctors invented race and scientific racism. The first medical school that was established in this country at the University of Pennsylvania taught race-based medicine. It is still taught in the medical schools today. It is medical malpractice. Whether you're practicing on a white person, a brown person, a green person, if you practice medicine based on race, which was debunked by scholars and scientists 80 years ago after World War II, then you are practicing medical malpractice, and that is what is going on every day, and that's why we have the health disparities we have and the death rate we have in our community. If you want to know about the details of this Saturday, here's my commercial, this Saturday at 2 p.m., I will be at the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage, presenting a lecture titled Medicine and the Black Body. Not only do I give you the history of medical racism and how that was invented by doctors, I even give you the history of where the whole idea of human blackness comes from. All right.
And just President Biden tried to bring back race-based medicine within the federal government, and I'm sure Trump is having a good time with it right now.
And I would love, if you would, Dr. Drake, okay? If you would, can you talk about how that looks today? Because you've been a long-time advocate around natural hair, and you've also been talking the past few years about the connection to history, science, and chemicals in our hair. Can you talk some about that?
Yeah, it's, once again, I can say it's all connected. All of it is connected. Even when you think about black maternal health and you think about the father of gynecology, and nobody talks about the mothers of gynecologies and these three women that were utilized and operated on. And the thing about it is that I learned is people say, oh, they were operated on, and they were also the nurses. They had to take care of each other. They were also the doctor. They had to take care of each other after they were operated on in public. But even when you think about our hair and the chemicals put in our hair and us trying to have the Crown Act here and say it is okay to wear your natural hair, and that couldn't pass in Kentucky. That is a problem, just to have your natural hair, where black women can say, I do not want to put chemicals in my hair and I do want to remain healthy, right? And that's wrong. But it was all like marketed towards black women. And I fell victim to this too, not just mothers, black women, but our daughters. And then, oh, it was just for me and we're gonna put this in our daughter's hair, right? And then, as it always happens, 10, 20, 30 years later, you see a commercial. Did you use fill in the blank? If you may get compensation, right? It's always something like that. It's like we deal with stuff, and this is, I thought Monica would talk about this, Dr. Ansel, the data centers. We enjoy things now and never think about we're going to have to pay for this later. You know, the bill always comes due. Even when you think about racism and America and this connection, because we are inescapably intertwined, if it has not reached white people yet, just keep right on living. You all see what's happening in Minneapolis. Just keep living. It will get to you. All of these things. The air isn't just going to be polluted over Rubber Town, and then it's going to stop, and everybody's going to be okay. The water with these data sets, it's just going to go away from a certain neighbor. Eventually, it will happen too. The problem is, and then I'm done. The problem is, this is the problem in America. America has this, and the world really has a problem. Oh, it happened to black people first, so we don't really care. Because it's happening to black people, and it's happening to poor white people, and it's happening to brown people, and we really don't care. You know, and then you see, wait a minute, oh, they meant me too. Yeah, we did. You know, like welcome to the revolution. You know?
Get in the back. Go get it.
Yeah.
I wanted to pause to give Dr. Ansel a chance to respond, but we'll.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I can say it to her. I was just going to say, like, my nonprofit, along with Black Women for Wellness Los Angeles, and We Act, so Peggy's 3 black women, we were a part of the coalition that got Johnson & Johnson to remove asbestos-linked talc off the global market. So what these companies do, thank you. What the companies do, and this is what Johnson & Johnson did, they've known for 50 years that it causes cancer. As soon as they found out that it caused cancer, they made the intentional decision to market it to black women. So when you see Gain, all these fabric softeners, these commercials with black people, I always say, oh, they know. They know it's dangerous, so they're intentionally marketing it to us.
I feel like we're getting a preview of Beauty and Science, so I'm just going to go ahead put this plug in. I want to offer a resource on this. I very recently read, and it's not a new book, but it's called No More Tears. And if you see the book, it looks like baby oil or baby powder, and it's about Johnson & Johnson and their history, and it talks about this specific lawsuit. So thank you and congratulations.
Good job.
I've got one more question. I am so glad that our virtual way of receiving questions is working, so thank you all for sharing questions via note cards, via the microphones. I've got one question here. And if you all will humor me, a big picture question to close out our amazing panel. This question, I hope, is something where you can offer a resource. How often and when were the last air pollution measurements done in West Louisville?
They should be happening every day. We know that they don't check after 5 p.m. and on weekends and on holidays, because on Christmas Day they ramp up that pollution and it smells even worse. So, and the problem is they're monitoring it, and if we have the Smell My City app, if you submit a smell through the Smell My City app, say at 6 p.m. at night, they're not going to send somebody out until like 9 or 10 the next morning, and it's already over. So we need more staffing at the Air Pollution Control District, but they should be doing it every day. The problem is, before Trump stopped it, all of the emissions data was self-reported by the company. So I found somebody who used to be an engineer inside the company, and she told me all the ways that they cheat and lie about how they self-report their emissions. So it should be every day. It's whether or not they're doing it, whether they're going to do anything with it. So.
Thank you very much. So I have a big picture question for the group to close things out. And the question is essentially, how can we meet this moment in a time where we feel attacks on science, attacks on environmental justice, missing and lacking history and that historical information? How can we meet this moment?
Read a book.
Mm.
Read a book, go to a talk, come to things like this.
come to things like that.
Look at things on your phone, not just, I'm a chat GPT, like really research, read. Dr. Jones always has articles out, read and learn, like it's darn near free, so just read a book. And then if you get stuck, read it again.
I would say keep asking questions. Just keep asking. Don't shut up. I don't care what they say. Keep asking questions.
That's all right. All right.
I agree with reading being fundamental. I think it's the most powerful thing you can do as a person to arm and equip yourself with knowledge. And if you know your history, there's nothing anybody can say to take you off your path in life. There's nothing anybody can do to deter you or to convince you somehow that you are less than, right? Reading is key to that. And we're losing that skill set because of too many screens, phones, televisions, and computers. If you have children or grandchildren, those screens for very, very young children are impacting the development of their brains in a negative way. I see it at the college level with students whose attention span lasts all of 2 or 3 seconds because they've been programmed into clicking, and instant gratification. I heard a teacher the other day say she's so concerned about her students being addicted to these screens because they're getting dopamine. Their brains are excited about it, so they don't pay attention in class. They pick up the phones and they start scrolling. So reading. My parents sat me down before I went to school, read to me until I learned how to read for myself. And as I said, I got into Dr. Jones's department without a high school diploma or a GED.
We absolutely have to act locally, support these local organizations, places like Roots 101. My current source of light right now is Philadelphia, which has just had the panels about those enslaved by George Washington removed from the center of the historic city, and Philadelphia fought back. Within a few hours, the city filed a lawsuit. Like 53 organizations have rallied to make sure that history is still being told. Random volunteers are going up there and putting poster board on top of those ripped off panels telling the stories of these people, and it's just something that keeps me going and waking up right now and trying to face this world we're in.
That you show up to Metro Council meetings. Make sure you contact the mayor and your Metro Council member. If you don't know who your Metro Council member is, bookmark LouisvilleKY.gov, put your address in the search bar and find out who that person is. You should not be okay with the city trying to turn Louisville into a data center haven. That is not okay. You should not be okay with the South End and Cane Run Road becoming the next place that environmental degradation is going to happen because it's right around the corner. We need to, like Hannah said, invest in air pollution control district air monitors. Like Dr. Unseld said, invest in air pollution control district monitors. The budget cycle is about to start in the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's already started in private behind closed doors. But for the public, it's going to start in about 6 to 8 weeks. So make sure that you say to the mayor and to your Metro Council member that instead of putting $6 million into Cop City, put that money into air pollution control monitors.
What an amazing panel. We are leaving here with some marching orders. So we have been asked to challenge ignorance. We have been told to read, that access to what we need is at our fingertips most of the time. And so to not take that for granted, to ask questions when we need to ask questions, and to show up, to be civically active. These are our responsibilities. So I hope that we are all leaving here better than when we came in and knowing what our responsibilities are. Please, one more round of applause for our amazing panel. And thank you also to Dr. Swanee Jett, who was the moderator of this panel. Certainly appreciate him and appreciate him giving me the opportunity to hop right in. And thank you all. Congratulations to Dr. Kevin Cosby. There's one more acknowledgement for you. I'm not reading the whole acknowledgement, everyone. Please don't panic, and I thank you all for giving us just a little extra time. But we have a letter here from the governor, and I'll provide this to you so you have his whole letter. But what he says is, I join your many friends and family, community leaders, and colleagues in celebrating your achievement. Your work throughout Louisville and the Commonwealth continues to uplift many lives through your worship, education, and empowerment. You are truly a leader among leaders, and your dedication and determination is a source of strength for all of us. Know that your tireless efforts are making a lasting difference. So one more time for Dr. Kevin W. Cosby, 2026 and Science Trailblazer. Thank you so much to Kevin Christopher Cosby for an amazing video tribute that he directed and provided. Dr. Ricky L. Jones for participating in the video. Reverend Dr. F. Bruce Williams as well. To our tablers. Thank you to Roots 101. What an amazing venue for this conversation. Thank you to the Filson Historical Society for incredible partnership. Thank you to the Christina Lee Brown Environment Institute for hosting this. We welcome you to stay engaged, so feel free to take a picture of the screen. Dr. Chenault talked about he will be speaking on medicine and the Black body on Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage. Also, please join us for our Green Heart Community Conversation featuring Dr. Roni Bhatnagar at 6 p.m. on February 10th. That will be taking place virtually. And stay tuned for our next And Science event. We can't wait to share with you about it. Please have safe travels home. Hopefully our panel may be able to answer some of your questions 101. Thank you all for being here tonight.